Yeah, my topic is opening up new perspectives, and I want to combine multimodal and multilingual aspects in corporate communication. So this is a very interesting topic, and a topic that we came across in our lectures, in our seminars, in talks to colleagues, and of course also in talks to students. So what is the combination of these two aspects, and how far is there potential? And I want to not only look at the question of how it's, so to say, built, but also on the aspects it can have for teaching. So how can we use it? How can we analyze all of it to make students understand what's important for their future careers and what's important for their understanding of texts in general? So I'd like to start, and for some of you it might be familiar, I'd like to start with this interesting part here about VW's campaign, A New Auto. So it's straightforward on the one hand, but it's also not, because when you have a closer look at it, you see that there's quite some construction behind it. So at first glance, of course, New Auto and VW are, of course, people that are interested in mobility, but also in design and in shaping the future, right? And this is something that comes together. So it's not just the one, so to say, the one message. Okay, so this is about mobility and cars, but it's also the company as a kind of instant shaping society and the future of society. So there's a little video here. We'll see if I can actually make it run. So is it work? Yeah, it should be working. I hope you can. Sound is not so important, but what we can actually see is that here mobility is not just restricted to a certain type of people, but it's very inclusive. So people, for example, disabled people can use it in an individual way. And this is something that's a lot more than just mobility. So it's making your own decision, being independent. But it's also, and this is another point here, electric, and so it's also sustainable. Things that are very general for companies to actually, address. So let us go on, and I'm going to show you my structure. So there is multimodality. I'm going to talk about that. Also about multilingualism in business, storytelling. Then I'm going to tell you a little about my method, then the results, examples, and the didactic transfer, and of course the conclusion and the outlook of this presentation. Let me start with multimodality. So multimodality can be approached through three different definitions. So it can be defined as a combination of different sign modalities, so that we have kind of a complex text or a communicative. It can also be just seen in, for example, in conversation research or communication by the gestures we make, the facial expressions, the eye contact, or the body posture. And then, of course, there is also the question of what is involved in the perception of a communicative act. So, for example, multisensory, right? So, for example, in museums, this is something when we see, when we smell, when we touch. So this is all included here. So when you have a look at business communication in particular, we find interactive websites, we find videos, podcasts, web TV channels, Instagram or TikTok, and it's all linked to the one website, so the customer can easily switch and can make sense of it. Another point is multilingualism in business. So not only is it a broad variety of different aspects that we, so to say, consume in the sense of pictures, texts, and videos, but it's also a point of, in this diverse cultural environment, so we have all those different aspects of culture, of different languages. Teams are diverse in means of culture, language, or approach. So the two citations I put in here are just putting it down to the essence, right? So what is it about? Why is it important to focus on multilingualism in business? Because just when you have a website for a company, for example, and you have, this is a German company, you have the website in German, but you also have it in English or perhaps in French or Chinese. So we will see examples of that, like for example, L'Oreal, they have the English, the French, and the Chinese language to represent, of course, also their markets. So another point, and this is also something very basic, is storytelling. So we have the multimodal aspect, we have the multilingual aspect, and then we have the storytelling aspect. So I think this quote here at the beginning is very interesting because storytelling tends to be a game, right? It is what we all do. It is like what Nike is, why Nike is Nike, why Apple is Apple, and why, for example, Disney built the Disney World. So this is something we connect stories with products, right? We see certain aspects in products that we like to share, and this is why we use them, right? So this is not just a coincidence to that we buy certain products and others not. So here again, the point is that, for example, Instagram is very, it's actually very prone to storytelling, because you need to make sense of your product, of your company culture, of the things that kind of, that make your company, right? But it's also a lot more shifted. So Instagram and TikTok are, for example, less, in a way, less conventional, so companies have to take less, have to take different ways to kind of establish themselves there. So there are different rules, and compared to, for example, the stereotypical print advertisement. So let's talk a little bit about the method. So this is a preliminary collection and includes various types of genres. It's relatively large number of text, but it's not classically sorted. So the companies that are focused on here for this particular one is car companies and an energy company, as well as a beauty company. And this is because of the reason I talked about before, because they have this variety in languages and also perhaps a different approach. So the idea is also to evaluate those texts, to point out what challenges can come up when researching them. It's a qualitative evaluation, more or less, and well, it's also the idea to transfer as many results as possible to the teaching practice and, for example, to the business communication program that our university is running. So for this presentation here, I've chosen distinct examples. I've also will also provide an outline for a possible teaching setting, and I will also give some didactic implications for university courses. So well, let's have a brief overview on those companies here. So I already mentioned VW with the new auto campaign. That's all about the mobility concept regarding future cars and traffic. It's about tailored products. The brand is being refocused after Dieselgate and other problems. Right now, VW is struggling to sell electric cars, which is of course a real and bad setback. But this also shows that there is a need for more, right, than just marketing. And then we have E.ON here, an energy company and an ambassador, so to say, of a sustainable future. It's actually a very interactive site. It's also partly gamified. I'm going to show different examples today, but it's also they're also offering something like a climate journey app. So to see where your energy is coming from, what can you do about it, how can you identify more with it. So then we have L'Oreal, which is, of course, beauty products or cosmetics. Also very interesting because they're in some way also part of the chemical industry. So they're also very much focusing on sustainability, shaping the future, making a particular stand on how to influence society in a way of body positivity and things like that. So the other two are Peugeot and Renault from France. So they're also car manufacturers. We see with Peugeot that's about e-mobility and also about design. And Renault also focuses very much on e-mobility and perhaps also a lot on like independence, on the beauty of the product, and of course also on the multimodal way to introduce that. Let me start with my first example here, and this comes right from the newsroom of VW. So I took the German one just to give you an example of how it looks. It has changed tremendously since I've last had a look at it. So we have press releases, we have stories, we have pictures, and we have media contacts. And here we can see that, of course, right from the start, you see that the car is central. On top of this, you can also see kind of a picture slide with different new models. And so again, we see here großes Update für den ID.4 und ID.5, ein neues Infotainment mit intuitiver Bedienung, neuer E-Antrieb. So you see the most important things in intuitive steering, for example, or the e-mobility part, that's really important. And of course, it's the new models. Also, there are also like subgroups like Drive, Volkswagen Group Forum, and there is also the increase in production. But of course, as I mentioned before, so there's always also you need to compare the news and obviously the let's say the I don't want to say the reality, but of course, marketing is also, as I said before, storytelling and establishing a brand. Another example here from TikTok. So you can also see here that there are a lot of videos, also obviously from customers are shared. I circled that in here. The ID7 is already named as something that's coming up, and you see that also this is very diverse, but you see that the electric car plays a very big role, and that of course also the people do. Another one is the Instagram account of VW USA versus Germany. So interestingly, for the USA, they've kept the rainbow in their logo. You can also see it in the German one, but not that straightforward. However, in comparison, we see again the ID4, as you can see in this picture, is very important. It's one of the so to say the big the focus here, while for the German one we have the car fair here, the big one, and we have like wallpapers or the different models, and here we have like the fan photos, so you can actually upload something, while with the other one here, it's more about the models, right? So we see the different models here, and you can find some car dealer to actually get the new car. Let's turn to E.ON, and here I'm going to show you this picture of the website. So gemeinsam in eine grüne Energiezukunft, Nachhaltigkeit bei E.ON. So together for a green energy future. You can see it's indeed green. You can see the technology that's leading to this, right? So we have those windmills here. And of course, it's also pointing out the big topic recently discussed in Germany regarding the energy law, what is called in German Wärmepumpe, so a device for energy generation in houses, or, well, let's say energy accumulation or a change. And I think this is also very striking here, because from that point on you can further investigate, and of course you can make yourself familiar with all the things that belong to it. So it's not just electricity, but it's also of course gas. It's the solar energy, e-mobility, and being smart. So smart houses, smart cars, things like that actually reflect the future direction of the company and their approach. This is a really interesting part too about E.ON, because it shows the way this kind of sustainable energy is generated, and you can have all those different parts here about. I have to. All those different parts of the story. So there is some background knowledge and how you can, for example, save some energy. There is also the question of how sustainable energy works. Then the windmills, what about them? How do they work? What do they consist of? And of course, also another option, and this is not possible everywhere in Germany, but of course in the southern part, we also have the hydropower plants that are also part of the sustainable energy. So reading through the text, it becomes obvious that the customer should feel welcome, should feel welcome to pose questions, and also to be interested in the topic as such, right? Dort können Sie mehr zu erneuerbaren Energien und deren Stromerzeugung erfahren. So here you can learn a lot more about the sustainable energy and how this energy is generated and how you can actually make use of it. So let's go further for the examples from L'Oreal. So I have a French one here just to also, of course, go for the multilingual aspect. So we see here the heading says L'Oréal pour le futur, nos engagements environnementaux for, so to say, the future. And it's very interesting actually to have a look and then compare it to the English one, because as already stated in another instance, how do you actually welcome a multilingual business environment? So there are many aspects that you can consider. There's many methods to transfer knowledge to or a content from one language to the other. So you can, of course, translate. You can also try and use AI to tailor the result even more, or to have even speech recognition or any other device to make the customer kind of feel that it just happened, right? So it's just as natural language as it reads. So what is pointed out here in the text is very interesting, that L'Oréal is, of course, aware of nature. It's aware of the changes that are going on in this field. And of course, we had events of very extreme weather conditions, so événements météorologiques extrêmes. And they are actually aware of that, and they know, as such a big company, they have to position themselves, they have to make a stand. C'est pourquoi L'Oréal a décidé de renforcer efforts. So this is just like, okay, so we know we have to do something, and it's our share that we actually provide for society. And if you now go for the English example, you can see L'Oréal for the future, our sustainability commitments for 2030. And we have, with higher stakes must come stronger commitments, right? So there is kind of a comparison here to the other text that we're trying to align it as strongly as possible. It's also L'Oréal for the future, and the company's vision, purpose, and responsibilities should be to meet the challenges facing the world. So this is something very interesting. And of course, at the bottom, you just can download their future booklet. So you can actually read it. You can also watch the video, which is quite nice. And it gives you the idea of a very close to nature. Nature is important. Sustainability is important for the company and also for the customers. So making a stand here. I want to show you some further points about their, they actually call it nos engagements en matière de développement durable pour the, I'm not so good with the numbers in French, I have to say, for 2030, right? So the interesting thing here, of course, you can use corpus tools, but also simple PDF readers come along with very nice features. And so what I just did was doing a little research here, and you can say, you can see here that, for example, engagement as a word, as a keyword, comes up quite a few times already in this document. And you can, of course, also search for, so to say, the word next to it, right and left, right? And I think this is really interesting, and it shows, for example, for the students, before you introduce a corpus software, it always depends on the group, right? What you can introduce, what can be used, what can be understood. So this is also a very straightforward way to approach the topic and to give them some basic understanding of corpus linguistics, and also use it to analyze this kind of paper. And it also shows that these kind of storytelling structures are in those documents, right? So to make them visible, to give some idea about it. Let's go further to the website here from Peugeot. And this is a very nice example, especially because it says tout est plus beau avec allure. And the word allure, that's kind of a word with 1,000 meanings. It can mean power, it can mean speed, it can mean your approach, attitude towards something. So this is really nice, and you see all the blue color here. And if you have a look at, for example, electric cars, so they usually have like some blue in their logo, like for BMW, or they have kind of this color is used to indicate this is an electric car. Also, for example, Toyota does that. And here we see again 100% electric, 100% irresistible. So also this kind of innuendo here on, so what do we actually mean? Do we mean cars, or do we mean something else? And this is also the typical approach of these multimodal texts, because you see down below there are already links, you can go further. And also the websites are usually very interactive. You can click on various buttons, you can open extra windows, you can, so to say, surf the website and find out all interesting, all the interesting aspects of the brand. And the special thing about the French one also is that it always has, in each of their websites, they have no marque. So it means like, this is our brand. So from that on, you can actually then go further. Also here, another example from Peugeot. You can see like in the back, you can see the mountains. It seems like a very broad, a very wide place here. And in this case, we see a male person, or at least a person that we read mail. We could also say there are also other pictures, so it's not just, so to say, related to this person, but we also don't know if it might not be the driver anyway. So it might just be a person that's with a group of friends, and it's just, so to say, leaning over the car, just looking. So this is something that they leave open, and are actually very inclusive. So it's definitely interesting to check out the website and to have a closer look. In the picture from Renault, one can see that the future is female, that of course, as we all know, women are also driving cars. But you can see it's also very modern. You see the dashboard is very, very innovative. You've got big screens, a lot of technology, but also still the design is classic. It's kind of also very straightforward, but it also says French design. So it's pointing out this is kind of what we do. Let's go a little further, and I'd like to talk a little about the results of this little investigation. So I've put the cars in one column and then into further ones. So the variety of channels is in each of the cases very broad. You've got a lot of channels that you can retrieve information from, that the company is providing information on their products, on their various aspects of their products, and on contact options, so to say, how to get in contact with the company, how to retrieve news. Of course, the car brands in particular also have this fan aspect related to them. So people can upload photos or pictures or videos of their cars using them, things like that. With Ion, of course, the credibility question is even more a point they are relating to, because also because of the political situation at the moment, but also of the situation on the energy markets in general. And L'Oreal is having actually a lot of channels. You can connect to the different social networks and of course more. So the storytelling. For the car companies, the storytelling is mainly based on TikTok, and it shows the cars, it shows its smart features, it shows the design, what's special about the design, why it's new, why it's handy, why it's magnificent. So this is very much focused here. And then like with Ion, interactive websites, storytelling is like sustainable energy is important. How can you get to that sustainable energy? Just have a look at our website. We tell you about the resources, we tell you about where it's coming from, what belongs to it, and so on. And then we have L'Oreal. So it's a beauty product, yes, but it's going beyond. And this is, I think this is the point here. As I said before, part of the chemical industry, you have to establish a totally different approach, because everybody, one might suspect that there's nevertheless a kind of an environmental dimension that might not always be okay. Also the question of trials, how are products tested and stuff like that. So this is also a point here for the digital storytelling. I have another point here on myth busting and challenging stereotypes. So of course cars have the problem that they might not be something that is around in the future, because of also the changes in engine development. But here the car producers make a clear stand and say that the future will be electric and that the future will be smart and perhaps even autonomous, but this is a different story. The energy story here with Ion, definitely facts before fiction. So there's a lot of there's also a lot of fake news going on about the energy sector. So this is something they have to make a stand for here. And furthermore, L'Oreal, if taking a further look on their website, if you're taking a further look on the materials they're publishing, it's about sustainability, biodiversity, but it's also, and this is really really not a small aim, the future of the planet and of course the company. There are some points here about gamification, so the playfulness of the videos, especially with the car manufacturers, some reels, and of course to things they show on Instagram. For the energy sector, this is kind of the innovative approach of the climate jury. I think I already showed that one back in Naples. And here again with L'Oreal, it's on the one hand playfulness, but not to an extreme extent, and kind of the products and beyond. So it tries to have this light atmosphere and this kind of, yeah, also I'd say diversity approaches. All right, so let's talk a little bit about didactics. So the point here is that there's a lot of terminology that can be looked at, that can be studied in depth. And this is something that's very interesting. For example, if you have a group of students that's working on terminology, so they can actually make databases out of it. They can also further analyze the business communication. The multilingual aspect is very interesting, especially regarding corpus and computer analytical work, like, for example, gathering big data or doing some data mining to find out in how far it's translations and how far it's transferring of content, or in how far AI is part of the process and the development of the individual website or the text. So another point for didactics here is the integration of digital and virtual text to discuss the concept of multimodality with students, and especially focus on the business communication. And of course, to transfer those methods for interdisciplinary approaches, because this is also something the students need to understand and need to work out, that the approach these days is interdisciplinary or even more transdisciplinary. So there is not just one part we have a look at, but as well as you do in your project, this is a multidisciplinary approach, and we need to have a look at all the different aspects of communication and communication analysis. Right, so an option for possible task in the sense of a didactic transfer could be any group of students, for example, LBA, Language and Business Administration, or any business-related studies. So the idea would be for the teacher to analyze multimodal and multilingual text for the purpose of using them and for preparing them in didactic transfer. Then each of the cases needs to be, so to say, reconsidered and needs to be based on a research question. So which skills should be developed or deepened? And then some basic research would be done by the students. So they would try to find out in how far this is a practice in communication culture, right? What aspects are multimodal, what aspects are multilingual, how effective is it? So one could, for example, have a look at comments, or one could also have a look at company statistics and then find out about that. And then the question would also be in how far, what changes result for the teaching of corporate communication in the study process. So this is something that that they could reflect upon, as well as the teacher could reflect upon. And then there would be the task to analyze, to prepare and teach the dimension of business communication in its production and reception. And well, along with those practical examples and in-depth analysis of the examples, one could compare and reflect on business communication in corporate groups and hopefully come to a result and to some further insight in all of the complex ways of communication. So an example that could be used for such an analysis could be like this one here from SNCF. So that's digital corporate communication. So we have here the customer information, they call it en coulisses, and there are different texts, so to say, and students could analyze those texts, and they could try and find out through videos or pictures how the company is trying to sell this particular point here. So conclusion and outlook, and I think then it's good point to finish. So generally, what I'd say, what I think and would say about it is that multimodal business communication is a very complex field of research, especially if the aspect of multilingualism is added. It's on the rise in all of those investigated brands because they need to make themselves aware of it, and they also need to make, for example, the marketing department aware of how things come across, how the company can establish itself in the market. New linguistic approaches are required, so we need to combine fields, we need to do data mining, as well as we need to have critical discourse analysis or lexical semantics or applied semantics involved. Storytelling is very interesting as it's applied, for example, to establish credibility, trust, or even has this emotional impact on the communicative outcome. One needs to earn credibility, and putting it in a storytelling makes it a lot easier. Corpus linguistics in particular and discourse analysis play a new role. It's kind of a little bit of a renaissance of corpus linguistics, as with the new software, a lot more things can be investigated, and a lot more things can also be evaluated and judged. So altogether, new teaching approaches are required for future business people. They need to be aware of it, and we are the teachers who can deliver this knowledge and teach them to be critical with text and to also be able to use the technology. So I'm going to show you my references and sources, and I thank you very much for your attention.